Get started. Yeah. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Gift of Health Weekly Wellness Chat. We are so excited you are here. I'm Dr. Arjun Raipudi. This is my lovely wife, Dr. Shobha Raipudi. We are both co-founders of Gift of Health. We are board-certified lifestyle medicine doctors. At Gift of Health, we are helping people to reverse chronic disease, get off medications, and lose weight and keep it off by using food as medicine. Today, for our weekly wellness chat, we have a very special guest joining from India, Dr. Sheela Nambiar.
Yes, and we are especially excited because she is actually like covering a topic that we all know like it is important but difficult to do. So we are very honored that today like we have Dr. Sheela Nambiar. So she is a practicing obstetrician and a gynecologist currently practicing in Uti, and she's also both certified lifestyle medicine physician and a fitness consultant. She's also a positive psychologist, and with all her, I would say, skills, she has actually incorporated that in her practice. So,
Yes, and she
like,
has this training for life program where
mhm.
she's teaching people lifestyle medicine principles and fitness and transforming their lives. And on top of this, she's a published author. She has published over three books, and her latest book is
Fit
Fit
after
After 40.
40. And she's also a current president of Indian Society of Lifestyle Medicine. It's called ISLM. And she is also a member of editorial board for this lifestyle medicine journal of BSLM, that is British Society of Lifestyle Medicine. So, like as you can see, she has
Yeah, we can, the
many
list can go.
she has many accolades to her. But like what we are especially excited, especially I mean in India, like lifestyle medicine, like even though I mean it is known, but like when it comes to being practiced in conventional medicine, it's very rare, I would say, like especially where lifestyle therapeutic measures are being utilized to take care of the disease, like not only treat the symptoms but take care of the root cause of the disease. So we are very excited to have her. But
So welcome, Sheila. Welcome for like thanks for joining us. We are so excited that you have you're it's so early for you, right? Like
yeah, like we are glad, even though it's so early morning for you, that like you have agreed to join us. So it's really,
You.
I mean,
Thank you,
we are really
Shiva.
thankful for that. And today, I know we are addressing about the physical activity, which is I know like which is important, like as diet is important, even physical activity is important, but we feel it's very difficult. So that's why like we have Dr. Sheela Nambiar with us, like who is going to bust a lot of myths on physical activity and what we can do. So welcome, Sheela. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Shobha. Thank you, Arjun. It's such a pleasure to be with you all because I've totally enjoyed all your Facebook Lives. I've been following you guys, and what you do is absolutely amazing there in Canada. I hope that I can contribute in some way to audience, help them understand that exercise and physical activity, but it's not that bad, and it can be implemented.
So Sheila, like being trained in the conventional medicine, what actually inspired you to, I mean, even like do this physical fitness or even institute like a training for life? I know like being an obstetric and gynecologist is a very rare avenue.
and it's so busy, especially in India. Being an obstetrician gynecologist is so busy, right? So we are so amazed that you went into certification to become a certified personal trainer and you opened your own wellness program. So we're really curious.
Yeah.
What got you into this?
Yeah, so what happened was, Arjun and Shobha, when I came back, like way back in 1994, and I joined my mother's obstetric practice. She's also a gynecologist. She's 84 now and doesn't practice actively, but she has her own hospital. So I joined her in 94. And as you said, it was a crazy, busy, hectic practice. And but the thing I noticed was that a lot of the women who came with the back pain, depression, and obesity. Of course, not as much as it is now, but obesity, polycystic ovaries, even infertility. I honestly felt that there was something missing in their management besides what we were doing. We were giving them the conventional treatment, the medication, the procedures, the pills, all of that. And I am very interested in fitness. I love fitness. I've been an athlete, so I love to do what I do. So and I found that I just felt that this missing piece of the puzzle was that they really did not have a proper exercise routine in place, and their diet was all over the place. So I went ahead and did my training, and I started actually teaching classes, which I still do. So and the classes were not just for patients. I implemented the antenatal and postnatal classes in my hospital. This I'm talking about way back in 2000. And I also started group exercise classes, which was great fun for me as well as for the students, because your life is so serious and so busy and so stressful that just 1 hour of having fun, letting your hair down, music, and a group of women was somehow it was just so motivating, not just for me, for the women as well. And so I started Training for Life, which is a program which involves. It started off with mainly exercise and diet, because way back then that's what I was focusing on, and then I slowly went into psychology, positive psychology, CBT, and all of that. And it was as late as 2016 that I discovered there was an actual field of medicine called lifestyle medicine, and I was so excited. I went to Taiwan for the first Asian conference for the Asian Society of Lifestyle Medicine, and then Manila. And then we started ISLM, the Indian Society of Lifestyle Medicine, in 2018. And it's been, from there, it's been there's been no looking back. And I honestly believe that today, including the other pillars of lifestyle medicine as well, like sleep and stress, relationships, and all of that, it brings us full circle to a more holistic approach to health. And as you said, although India is known for its ancient traditions of using lifestyle as a form of treatment, what lifestyle medicine honestly does is make it more evidence based, so that we are able to actually tell the patients, look, these are the studies that have been done, and that's why, say, sleep is so important. And just to give you an example, I remember way back when women asked me, if we're a bit sleep deprived, we haven't slept that much that night, but if we have to get up and exercise in the morning, what would you suggest? And I would always say, get up and exercise, you can sleep later. And today I don't think I would say the same thing, because I know that sleep is really, really important. So so it's just been a full circle, and I've managed to marry my profession and my passion, like you guys have, which is where I find that we speak the same language, and we pretty much doing similar things, I think, in two different parts of the globe.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. Like you've started lifestyle medicine a decade before what lifestyle medicine, the word, started being used
Yeah.
that much, because these lifestyle medicine boards and societies mostly started in the last decade, but you started doing this in like
Decade, yeah.
early 2000s. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it was called. Yeah, I didn't know it was called lifestyle medicine. I just felt, I mean, it was common sense, right? Your diet and exercise is so much a part of your well-being, and I really I mean, I don't like the idea of just treating patients with medication for pain and then you send them off for investigation, which are important. All of those are absolutely important. And I think, especially in terms of emergencies, allopathic care is the thing to turn to. But as far as non-communicable diseases, I think we fall short. Allopathic medicine falls short. And so we do need to implement the other lifestyle measures.
Yes. So, Sheila, like you have so much of expertise in exercise, using exercise as medicine, and you have done it in person, like one on one, and also you're doing it
Yes.
in group setting, right? What
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
exercise we all know that we should be doing, but for many of us, it feels like just a chore, right?
Yeah, and why is it so hard?
And how do you
Yeah.
how do you help people to navigate that? Hey, just I know it's common sense, but many people don't feel
Yeah.
like doing it.
Doing it. Yeah. No, you're right. Actually, the science research shows that it's a very small percentage of people who actually enjoy exercise. Many people do it. They do it like a chore, like you said. And the research does show that when people exercise and lose weight, they tend to go right back. Probably because they stop exercising or go back to some random diet. So the thing is, I think the psychology of it is really important to understand. And while exercise is difficult, the breathlessness, the racing heart, not everybody enjoys that. So a lot of the time, what I tell people to focus on is not the result that they are hoping to achieve, which is mostly weight. As you know, most of them start exercising because of weight. Very rarely do they do it for health reasons, right? So it's for weight. So they will look at something like lose 10 kilos in 3 months or 5 months or whatever it is. And they assume their goal is the weight loss. But what I tell them is your goal really should be your actionable steps. So what are you doing on a daily basis? It could be something as simple as walking for X amount of time every day, eating this many servings of, let's say, fruits and vegetables every single day. Those are your goals because those are the things that are under your control. What we find is the weighing scale is not always under your control, right? Just when you think you've done a great job this whole month, I've eaten well, and the scale doesn't move, and it's so frustrating, So then people tend to get discouraged if they focus and obsess about the scale. Instead, let's focus on our fitness levels. And believe me, if you exercise even just a little bit, your body responds. It's amazing. It's amazing to see. And if you teach people to recognize that increase in fitness level in different levels, like for instance, your cardio, how does your flexibility improve? How does your strength improve? So they have many goals that they can achieve in their various aspects of fitness. So they're not focusing only on weight, and they're not focusing on just being uncomfortable and focusing on just the exercise per se, but they're focusing on what is it that they've achieved. And there are always things that have been achieved. So it's the focus should be on what am I getting out of this, even if it is just 15 to 20 minutes of exercise. The other thing is, I think a lot of people start off trying to go from literally 0 to 9 or 10 in their level of exercise or what they want to implement. So that makes you really uncomfortable because you can't sustain that for too long. So instead, if we could take baby steps where you do just a little, even starting with something like 10 minutes of exercising every day and incorporating more activity through the day. So it's a combination of both, right? You can't exercise for an hour and then sit down the rest of the day not doing anything. That doesn't work. So telling them things like move around through the day. And now with step counters, it's very easy to assess how much you're moving. So including both activity and even 10 minutes a day and increasing it gradually every week by 5 minutes till they work up to about 40 to 45 minutes. That would be a better way to go than just saying start exercising for 30 minutes every day, start strength training, do your stretches. That's a little more difficult to implement. Yeah. So yeah, so baby steps and focusing on what your actionable goals rather than the end result, I think would be the main thing.
And that is so important because we always tend to focus on the results, and but like when we
Yeah,
focus on the process, results automatically happen. And
Yeah.
that's what we like
yeah,
observe in our participants too. Like when we ask them to
yeah,
focus on the process, they say, okay, the weight loss is happening anyway, even without me focusing on that.
exactly,
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we get
exactly.
discouraged.
And
As
Yeah.
you said, if you just focus on the weight, it can go
scale,
up and
yeah,
Correct.
down, and like there may be so many things affecting the weight. So some of us can
yeah,
get discouraged and lose motivation. But
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
sometimes the one analogy we use is like it's like gardening, right? Your weight loss or health is like the fruit, and
Yeah,
the process that you do is like the roots are the taking care of the soil. So you want good fruits, you focus on the root,
right,
not so
absolutely,
yeah.
Yeah.
But I
absolutely.
think
And
here
the
the
other thing,
psychology.
Arjun, yeah, yeah, I was just coming to that. Yeah.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
the other thing was that I think the why of exercise,
Hmm.
why have you started exercise? I think that really is important. Again, if we say we are exercising only to lose weight, which is fine as a starting goal, but as you go along, you need to have more and more whys.
Hmm.
Like really powerful whys, like for instance, I want to see my children grow up and I want to be healthy to be able to play with my grandkids and to be completely mobile and independent late into my life. These are very powerful whys, right? And not be diabetic. Maybe I have a family history of diabetes, but not become diabetic. These are very powerful whys to have. And I think the more whys you garner and the more whys you kind of discover as you go along, the more likely you are to kind of stay in the program.
That's very powerful. Like
Yes.
having,
Yep.
yeah, we
Mhm.
call that why power,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
power of why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, yeah,
yes,
that being
yeah,
said, but like nowadays we are in an environment like where mostly like we are doing the desk job, and like we are so focused on the work, like from morning till evening we find ourselves in the
yeah,
desk job, especially I would say here in the West. It has been very difficult, so sometimes it's just easy to do that 1 hour or 2 hour of exercise, but later throughout
yeah.
the day it's mostly doing the desk job. So, like,
Sedentary.
given environment, like, what do you
Yeah.
think might help?
Yeah. So what I think is, Shubha, I think each of us has our own lifestyle, our own ways of trying to managing to incorporate movement through the day. Like for instance, somebody like you and me, where we are, like you said, sitting at our desk a lot. There are lots of these Zoom calls and all of that. I think it's important to kind of consciously tell ourselves to get up and move every 20 to 30 minutes. Even something as simple as standing up and sitting down, if you could take a break on your Zoom call or at your meeting, doing a few crunches or doing a few tricep dips from your chair, or even just walking around the building. What I do honestly is that I would have two consulting rooms, so the patients would alternate, so I would have to essentially walk between rooms, and I would walk around the hospital, walk up the ramp. Things are done randomly, and my nurses and patients got used to just seeing me suddenly wandering around the halls. You have to incorporate it into your own life in whichever way you think is possible. So let's say if you're a housewife and you don't have a sedentary job, but very often what happens is you're sitting in front of the TV, or you're just standing stationary, probably cooking. But even there, we can incorporate activity, small things like doing calf raises while you're waiting for your milk to boil, small little things like that. Standing up when you're folding laundry. And another small little thing I would do is, if I was watching TV, I would stand up at each commercial. It's really funny, but I would do that. I wouldn't say, I would stand up every time commercials come. I would stand up and walk around. It's like a reminder. So you need to incorporate little things like that into your day, where movement becomes natural, And I think you will find that when you do that, you sleep better, you feel so much better, and your weight comes off much easier too, right? Rather than just concentrating on that 1 hour of exercise. Yeah, and you just can't outrun a bad diet, of course. Like you
Yeah.
can't do 1 hour of exercise and come and eat all you want. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a common myth for many people have
Yeah.
is that since I'm exercising, I can eat whatever I want.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
as you said, like
Yeah, you
it's hard to
outrun a bad
outrun
diet.
a bad diet. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So one other thing, Sheila, like you're a big proponent of strength training, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So even
Or
when you
even before we go to strength training, like when you think of physical activity, what do you think we should be doing? Like, what are the different parts of physical activity that we
Things.
should be
Yeah.
incorporating?
Yeah, that's a great question, Shobha. When you tell people exercise, like as you know, the WHO itself recommends different components of fitness. They talk about cardio, they talk about strength, and they talk about flexibility. So most people, when they talk about exercise, when you ask them what you do, most people, especially in India, would say we go for a walk and we do yoga, right? That's the common answer that we get. So, are these two components sufficient? Is the question. So, your cardio, which is anything that increases your heart rate, it could be cycling, swimming, walking, running, any of that. So, that comes under your cardio, which improves cardiovascular endurance. But you also need strength. You need to increase strength of your muscles and also increase the muscle mass. And this is particularly important for Indians because we are born with a lower muscle mass. We have sarcopenia, and this, of course, worsens with age, especially if you're inactive. So, strength training with external weights like machines, barbells, dumbbells, or your own body weight is absolutely essential. So, that's the second component, the strength. And then you have the flexibility, which is taken care of if you're doing yoga regularly. So, yoga or even simple stretches, dynamic stretches, these are fine. And the fourth component is endurance, muscle endurance, which is working the muscle for long duration at a lower intensity. So you're not getting breathless. You're not using your cardiovascular system as much. You're just tiring out the muscle by working long duration, lower intensity. So all these four pillars are really important, and each patient, each client or patient has a different requirement. So depending on the person, you have to recommend it and personalize it for them, because a much thinner person would require more of strength training and less of cardio, for instance. Somebody who is very into sport and games would require a fair amount of stretching as well and strength training besides their sport conditioning. So I think it has to be personalized, but by and large you do need to implement the cardio, the strength, the flexibility, and muscle endurance into your fitness routine.
So those are really wonderful because like not many of us know like okay, so even if you want to exercise, like what are all the components that we need to incorporate? So like given that, so like when we have this components, so what would you recommend, like let's say if we are trying to do it on our own, so like
Yeah.
how much or on a daily basis, like would you be able to give an example of a typical like week where we can
Yeah.
incorporate all of these?
Yeah, so cardio, I would recommend every day, Shobha. I think given our lifestyle, given the fact that we are so sedentary and we really don't do too much physically, I would recommend cardio every day and minimum of 30 minutes. Of course, you don't have to start with 30 minutes. You can start with even 15, depending on your level of fitness and your obesity level, etc. But at least 30 minutes every day. And I think also mixing up your cardio a bit where you're doing a lower intensity workout on some days. So let's say a moderate paced walk 3 days a week. But the other 3 days, if you could do a higher intensity, at least in intervals. So you do it, for instance, in a 30-minute routine or even a 20-minute routine. If you could let's say, walk really fast or walk on an incline for 30 to 40 seconds and then walk much slower for 1.5 minutes, that improves your cardiovascular endurance much more. So you do cardio for at least 30 minutes, 6 days a week. You could take a day's break, and your strength training, depending on your time available, you could do it a minimum of 2 days a week, and you could go up to 6 days a week depending on how much time you have. So if you do it only 2 days a week, that means that you would need to essentially address all the muscles in the body twice a week. So which means obviously the number of exercises would increase, number of exercises, number of sets and reps would increase. So you would need about 45 to 60 minutes if you're doing it just twice a week. But if you split it up, and let's say you do a 4-day week routine, what you could do is 2 days of working your upper body and 2 days of working your lower body. So you're still addressing all the body parts twice a week, but you can split it up in a way that you don't need to spend that much time. You could finish your entire upper body workout in 20 to 30 minutes, for example. So if you as a busy professional come and tell me I only have an hour and I just can't spare more than that, I would probably tell you do 30 minutes of cardio and 30 minutes of strength training every day. So which means you would split it up into 4 days a week. And I would definitely include your yoga at least twice a week. I mean, I love yoga too, because I think it's such a beautiful combination of stretch with breath work. So, and it brings that mindfulness into your workout. You're able to connect your breath with the movement. You're able to also connect with your own body, just like strength training does. So this mind body could just a slight diversion there. This mind body exercise that people talk about, where yoga comes under mind body exercise. Honestly, I think strength training is very much a mind body exercise, because when you're training for strength and you're focusing on, let's say, one particular muscle or a group of muscles, you really need to concentrate on those muscles. You have to, because you're using them, you're focusing on them. And of course the instructions from your instructor or your trainer is important, because he needs to make you understand that that's the muscle you're working. And so your mind needs to be engaged with the movement, with the muscle, and also focused on how to perform the movement properly. So you could do it wrong and you could injure yourself. So how to do it properly, focusing on form, all that is important, which is why I think strength training is also a form of mind body exercise, right? So I don't know, I think I just deviated off from your
No,
question.
no, no,
Sorry
no,
about
that,
That's
that
excellent.
covers, yeah.
But like we have a question here, like when you were mentioning about the muscle endurance, like how we can increase muscle endurance,
Yeah.
without breathlessness. So what would you give an example of that?
So, like a long trek for about that lasts about 3 hours would be muscle testing your muscle endurance more than your cardiovascular endurance, right? Because
Okay.
you're walking at a much lower pace, you're not breathless necessarily, but you're walking for a very long time. So the muscles get depleted of, their energy and nutrition. So even a marathon, to a large extent, is an endurance activity. It's only probably in the last last leg of the marathon that the marathoner would sprint and bring into play his cardiovascular. That's not to say his cardiovascular endurance is not challenged, but it's more of a muscle endurance activity. So a lower intensity, longer duration activity would challenge the endurance of your muscles.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. That really clarifies it.
So that's a lot
Yeah.
of food for the body, I would
Yes.
say, and food for thought. You
Yeah.
know, many people, when they talk about exercise, they focus on one aspect. Either
Mhm.
they're
Yes.
going to gym and lifting weights, or
Yes.
they're going out to run,
Yeah.
or some
Yeah.
people are doing
Just
yoga.
yoga.
Only
So,
yoga.
but
Yeah.
you have given a nice formula, like a recipe for where you could include
Mhm.
all different aspects. That's quite amazing. We want to shift gears to like the impact of exercise on improving specific health conditions, like with you being like a gynecologist and obstetrician, like you in your
Yeah.
practice you see a blend of how the exercise impacting women's health, especially reproductive
Yeah,
health. Could you throw us,
yeah,
give us some
yeah.
insight on that?
Yeah, yeah. If I start with, let's say, pregnancy, Arjun. So even in pregnancy, most women, especially in India, I find there is a taboo where they are not encouraged to exercise. There are these misconceptions that you could have an abortion or you could have preterm labor and so on. Of course, there are restrictions. You shouldn't be going all out. You should try and avoid high impact activities, avoid lying on your back after 16 weeks of pregnancy. All those restrictions need to be in place. But having said that, exercising in pregnancy actually leads to a healthier pregnancy. It leads to easier labor. It leads to a faster recovery post delivery. So there are a whole host of benefits. And the woman also is in connection with her body, and all her aches and pains, the low back ache because of the lumbar lordosis, the tight hamstrings, the shoulder pain, upper back pain, all of these can be addressed even in pregnancy. Similarly, post delivery, besides the weight loss, you need to knock off the pregnancy weight. So obviously, exercise post delivery is important. But even improving the mood of the patient. A lot of women go into uh, a form of postpartum depression and stress, because of the overwhelming responsibility of a newborn. So taking out a little time to exercise, a little time for herself, which is her own time, would really help her in many ways. And she doesn't have to do something that's exhausting or intimidating or overwhelming. Even just 30 minutes would suffice. So both in pregnancy and postnatally, exercise becomes really, really important. Then you have other conditions like polycystic ovaries, for instance, which is this, I mean, 8 to 10% of women have polycystic ovaries, and it's the syndrome would include other things like infertility and irregular cycles. And many of the women also have obesity. They have acanthosis, the darkening of the skin, acne, and a combination of all of this. Besides, of course, the stress of not being able to conceive, it's also depressing for the woman. The weight, the skin color, the acne, all of that. And it has been shown that exercise is really one of the top modalities to treat polycystic ovaries. And this includes both uh, there are some women who are not necessarily obese and with polycystic ovaries. They may be lean, but they may have polycystic ovaries. So exercise is important for both the lean as well as the obese polycystic ovaries, women with polycystic ovaries. Of course, what you prescribe would be different, right? The for the obese woman, you would be focusing on weight loss, so you would encourage them to do more of the cardio. Strength training would still be important, but you would do more of cardio, and of course, diet becomes important. For a woman who's lean, you would cut back on cardio and try to help her build muscle. So that's a form of exercise, but it encourages her to build muscle rather than lose weight. So something else, like for instance, one of my patients, this is not exercise so much, it's a combination of exercise and diet. There was this woman, she is a Caucasian woman, and she had severe endometriosis. And the MRI showed endometriotic spots on her sacral nerve, and she was in such pain that she was limping. She couldn't even put her foot on the ground, and she was would be up at night with pain, suffered insomnia and all of that. And after a lot of counseling and a lot of talking too, she firstly went off animal products. I encouraged her to go off dairy, to at least minimize animal products. And that, in combination with a lot of stretching and a lot of walking alone to begin with, honestly, now she's off her medication, and she is literally, I would say, 95% pain free. And it's amazing, because when she used to come into my clinic, she would be limping about 2 years ago. And now she's, able to walk, and she says, the impact of this on the quality of her life. And she's a young woman, she's in her 30s, late 30s. So the impact of this lifestyle change on the quality of her life is just amazing. And all it required was lifestyle implementation. you know, so things
Amazing.
like that. And there was, yeah, and there was another woman who, you know, I see patients with infertility. I don't do IVF and all of that, but we do the preliminaries. So there are patients who come with infertility, and there was one woman with who suffered from terrible psoriasis, and she's been suffering from this for the last would be about 7 to 10 years, and she had it all over her body. Again, although she didn't come for the skin condition, she came to me for infertility and irregular cycles. So obviously, you know, the weight, and she was overweight as well. So the exercise, the a plant-centric diet, essentially plant-centric diet, going off dairy completely again. Not only did she start getting her periods regularly, her psoriasis completely cleared up. It's amazing. It just completely cleared up. And she says, you know, I've spent 7 years applying creams and, you know, having these flare-ups every once in a while. So this was like a bonus. Though she didn't come for it, this was like a bonus. And she could not believe that she had actually treated her skin condition herself, literally. It was herself, like there was no external, you know, pill or potion. So these things really make you truly believe that lifestyle implementation is just so very important in, I think, every respect of every field of medicine, not
Yeah,
just you know, not just for weight loss. Yeah,
yeah. Isn't that amazing? Like how
it
like diet
is. It
changes
is.
and exercise changes can like bring so many
Yeah,
changes in our body. So
absolutely,
especially when it
absolutely.
comes to exercise, we think of, oh, we need more protein. What about this? Like maybe after exercising, I need to take this protein shakes, or maybe I need to consume meat to to build
Yeah,
muscle.
yeah. No,
So
that's a huge
how do
myth.
you, no, we all know how big of a myth that is. We would love to
Yeah,
hear from you. Like, how do you coach your patients and clients
people.
about, like, hey, this is, we also see this even in teenagers now.
Yeah,
So many teenagers, like when they work out, they want to
yeah.
have a post-workout protein
Protein
shake.
shake.
And
Protein shake. Yeah.
yeah, so
So
what
yeah, so there is. Yeah, there is this huge myth that if you don't eat animal products, you would be deplete of protein, which is really not true at all. But having said that, I would say that if you are eating a diet that is primarily plant-based, you do need to eat plants and a lot of leaves and a lot of vegetables and a lot of and fruit and the plant-based protein, which is your beans, your lentils, your seeds, nuts, soy. So there has to be education regarding what are your plant sources of protein. Most people don't know that. And in India, particularly, when you say vegetarian, if you look at their diet, and you know, we take diet recalls of all our patients who walk in, and you'll be surprised that even though they say they are vegetarian, the amount of vegetables they consume is minuscule. It's
yeah. You
right?
have to look at that diet recall, put your magnifying
Literally.
glass to look for vegetables
Yeah,
there.
literally, literally. So their plate is essentially the grain. It's filled with the grain, whatever it is, you know, whether it's rice or wheat or even the millets, they all come into the, you know, grain and the bread cereal group. So their plate is primarily grain and with a little bit of vegetable, a dot of vegetable, two, three, and that too overcooked a lot of the
Yeah.
time,
Mhm.
you know, overcooked, killed, and then resuscitated with your with the oil and with the mustard and all of that. So, so we need to encourage people to eat a more plant-centric diet. So I always say, turn your plate and fill it with vegetables first, at least half, and protein, a plant-based protein, which could be your dal, your beans, and then your the fruit on the side. I don't recommend dairy. I mean, but if you're eating it, then okay, keep it to the minimum. But I think education about about sources of plant sources of protein is very very important. And this whole concept of having drinking a protein shake immediately after your workout is actually misdirected, because if you think about it, the protein that is required for muscle building happens much later. The protein requirement happens much later, right? Because your muscles that break down during your weight training, they start to heal and recover and build only after 24 hours. So essentially you should be having a protein rich diet. It could be plant protein too, uh, not immediately after the exercise, but during the course of the next 24 to 48 hours. If you ask me what is depleted during a workout, even during a strength training workout, is glycogen, is the fuel for the muscle, because the breakdown and recovery, the breakdown happens then, but the recovery happens much, much later. So I really don't think a protein shake is required immediately after or before a workout. If anything, having a juice to replenish glycogen stores would be better. If that answers your
Yes,
question.
yeah, well, that's
Yes.
wonderful. Like that really sheds light on that protein shake myth that shakes the protein
Protein.
shakes.
Yeah. And the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
common, yeah, and the other common thing we get is like after a certain age. So let's say after 40, so we might be eating the same thing, but we might feel that like we are putting on weight. So
yeah, yeah.
despite exercising, so no matter what I'm doing, I'm still putting weight.
Yeah, yeah. That's a very, very common myth. And I mean, I'm asked that all the time. I've been eating the same thing, I'm exercising the same way, but I'm gaining weight. Well, the truth is, obviously, as you age, your basal metabolic rate goes down. And although that doesn't really, I mean, it's a small difference. It's not a huge difference in basal metabolic rate, but it adds up. Over the days, it adds up. And the one way to increase and improve your basal metabolic rate is by building muscle. So again, strength training becomes really, really important, especially as you grow older. If somebody is doing only cardio and maybe some amount of yoga, some amount of stretching, they will, and even if they continue the same thing, they continue to eat the same, they would probably start to gain weight, start to gain fat. So in order to keep the fat gain, to lose the fat and to sustain the fat loss, my recommendation would be strength training. And you can use strength training in so many ways. Like you can actually get a cardio workout out of your strength training, depending on how fast you lift the weights, the rest between sets, the weight that you lift, the actual weight that you lift. You can actually get your cardio workout as well. So I would really, if somebody said, I have only half an hour a day, what should I do? I would definitely say strength training, because you can really use strength training in different ways, and especially for women, for not just women, for people growing older, I think strength training is the most important aspect of fitness.
That's wonderful summary, Sheila. We covered so many aspects, like in this last 45 minutes, we covered so much gold, like in this episode. Uh, our listeners would really love to connect with you and stay, like, they would like to know how to find you, and could you share like how, where they can find you and how to connect with you?
Yeah, well, my website is drsheelanambiar.com, just DRSHELANAMBIAR.com. There is something, I mean, it's being revamped, but currently there is something called Typeform. There is a Typeform attached to it. So if you have a query, you can just type in your query and send it to me. It comes to me and I will respond. And of course, I'm on social media as drsheela.com. I'm not active on Twitter, but Instagram, Facebook, I'm there, and you can connect with me through that as well. I have a blog on WordPress as well, Dr. Sheela Nambiar. So any of those would work.
Excellent. And especially
Well, Sheila, thank you so much for joining us. We see that the internet connection is like losing a little bit. So anyway, we are at the top of the hour. We really want to wrap this up, and thank you so much for joining. This has been one of the best sessions that we had, and this is such a invaluable information on what type of exercise we should be doing, and how to get started.
yes, like even like we have not done exercise, like how we can just use those small tips, like even when we are doing our daily activities, like how just like when we are standing and boiling our milk, just doing those calf raises, or like even incorporating that
Yeah.
little movements, like instead of just sitting. So like all those small tips, these are the small things that we can start right away.
Yes.
Like we don't have to wait for any training or going to gym. So these are small things which actually produce big results.
Yes, and start with wherever you are
Yeah.
and take it from there. Like as you said, just even start with 10 minutes, and then you get the feedback from the body, how you feel good, and then just keep chugging at it. Uh, for our
Yeah.
listeners, like we do want to mention that you could check out Dr. Sheela Nambiar. Like she has her website. On her website, you could also find information regarding the programs that she's offering. Like she has 12-week programs that many people can join, like group programs that had like a wonderful transformative results. Uh, we can't thank you enough for joining us today.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Sheila,
you.
for
Thank you, guys. It's such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure. And like I always said to you, it's such joy to spend time with you guys because the positivity that you emanate. I love the session, and I do hope your audience will be happy with it. And I hope we can do this again sometime. And I'm going to be inviting you guys to do something with me as well.
sure. Like there are great comments like after the show, like you can definitely watch, and people are enjoying the session and thanking you as well.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much.